Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of Talking Dragons, the talk show where we talk about D&D, tabletops, and all sorts of crap. Tonight we have a very special guest, a returning guest, of course, Yura.
Hi, I'm back for Talking Dragons.
Yes, Yura, we never really had a chance to talk last time.
Really?
Yeah, I think we were talking about DMs last time, right?
Yeah.
We had a session with Safi.
Safi, yeah.
Yeah, so Safi was talking a lot. You didn't really get to talk much.
Yeah.
So, we're here.
Yes, we are.
A one-on-one.
Yeah?
Speak.
Right, so we're here talking about DMs now, right?
Nah, let's talk about you. Let's talk about you, Yura, as a Dungeons and Dragons player, or as a Warhammer player. Of course, you also play Warhammer here.
Yes, Warhammer 40k.
Yep. From time to time, you are a dungeon master.
Yeah, I recently became a dungeon master, and I ran. Yeah.
You graduated.
Yes, I played one session.
That's right. You played Demeria.
Yes, my own personal homebrew campaign.
You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, sure, we can talk about that.
All right.
So yeah, I will talk about Demeria then. It was a homebrew campaign, which was designed to be played with friends because I tried to imagine. Let me try and make a world where it's a modern setting in the world where we live in and have a twist of magic.
Okay. So magic and guns and magic.
Guns and magic.
Right.
But of course, in this world, since it's a bit modern, magic doesn't seem normal. I mean, it's normal in the sense of people use it on a daily basis, but people still just use guns, cars, and all that.
Right. So other than like magical weapons, like what sort of like cool stuff that you did with magic?
Oh, okay. So I have this design in one of the earlier encounters. So there was a hostage situation, and
all right,
these guys are strapped with bombs, but they're infused with a certain type of magic that is rarely used.
Okay.
So imagine if a vest was strapped with a very powerful spell, but no one could trace. So something similar to a black hole, mixed with C4.
Okay.
So that was the ideal of the first encounter. But
right.
Of course, I made sure that the players who were joining in had some means to disarm it. So they had a bomb squad.
Right.
So, of course, during that whole encounter, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make it fun. So for me, when I tried it, at the first attempt they tried to disarm it, it's gonna be a high DC.
Yeah.
But every time they tried to work their way, the second attempt, okay, lower DC, but they didn't catch it. All right. So the last attempt, I made sure the DC was enough for them to survive.
All right.
And they managed to do it. And I made the suspense of putting in a timer.
Yeah, timers. I noticed that there's been a lot of trend for that. Like Faiz actually tried it with his game last week, right?
I think he got inspired because
by Demeria.
By Demeria, because what happens if you have a time limit? It kind of makes the players not waste time.
Yeah.
And
I've been in a game where there was a timer. I think two games. I think Nadia probably did one for me once, and Jihan did one. No, not Jihan. Someone, I don't remember. I didn't like it.
You didn't like the suspense or the restriction of less time?
I think as a player, it gave me like a defeatist attitude to it. Like, we only got 5 minutes. We're not gonna. Like, it's gonna take us 5 minutes to talk about it, or something kind of like that.
Yeah, but I kind of see the problem with that one. But with how I did my timer, I made it sure that my players are gonna pass, no matter how much you think they're gonna fail. I'm the type of DM that like, okay, I'm gonna give you a chance. Like the first two attempts, I'm gonna make sure they're gonna fail. Yeah, they're gonna fail the first two attempts because the DC kept going down, but it was still high. But with the last attempt, I put the timer just for them to know that it's still a challenge. So they're gonna like pray, pray to like, oh God, is it gonna happen?
Okay. So this wasn't your first time, was it? This is your first time on camera?
It was my first time on camera. So I played a session before. I played Demeria with a couple of friends of mine.
Yeah. So this is basically your second time.
Second time.
So second time in your entire life you were DM.
Yes.
Like
in my own world, in my own campaign, yeah.
Was there something like about being a DM that you haven't expected? you didn't really expect, even though you kind of like heard about it?
Okay, I heard about stories where like players ask, "What's the name of the NPC?" Or, like, what are the types of materials or what's around the world? And like that's a typical thing I would expect. But there are times where players shock me during that whole one shot I did for Demiria.
Mm-hmm.
So they start saying like, "Is there anyone behind this door that I already checked that was locked?" So I'm like, what was your perception? So they roll low. So I'm like, okay, they don't notice the guy there. But for some strange reason, one of them found the guy that was hiding.
Yeah.
And I was like, they had a low perception. So I'm like saying, you can't find him, but you went where he went. So I'm like, okay, I'll work with it.
Yeah.
So when they do these things, like I plan things like, okay, they're gonna do this, that something's bad gonna happen. Then for some strange reason, one of the players like do something strange, like, oh, I'm gonna cast heat metal on a gun. He can't shoot, and that's like, that foils my plans. That helicopter was supposed to crash.
But what if it's a magical gun, or if the grip was made of wood? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I made it already ahead. Like, okay, that's a normal gun. It's gonna have a normal handle. Yeah. So I'm like, heat metal.
Yeah.
I had playthroughs where people tried using heat metal, but I didn't expect creative players to catch me off guard. I'm like, okay, he can't shoot, so you guys have a chance to stop him. But in my head, I'm like, damn you.
Well, not that I've known a lot of DMs, but I would know some DMs who would take that opportune moment to just fire the gun, even though it's heated.
That's the thing. I tried it. You should have seen the stream. I failed. I rolled a 1.
How can you fail a point blank shot?
That's the thing. If you know XCOM, you point blank shot on the 95%.
But you're not playing XCOM. You're playing D&D.
Yeah, but it's still a percentage chance. You roll it.
So this is where like a lot of like fledgling DMs kind of like make mistakes as well. Like if you want to tell the story for the sake of the story, just tell the story. But if you're gonna have to roll for everything, then everything's gonna be chaotic.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. You gotta make it fair for them.
Sure, but is it fair for you?
Well, since it was like a tier 1, it was a tier 2 type of game.
Okay.
And it was a one shot, so.
Tier 2.
But it was a one shot. So if I feel like my players are enjoying this whole story, like they felt achievement on doing something, then yes, I'll let them have it. But if it was a normal campaign I'm actually running, I'll probably change a few things and make my way a bit more subtle and without them noticing.
I like to call myself the conductor because I like to railroad
A lot.
All right. Unfortunately, but I do still let my players get away with stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to finish at the end of the station where you're supposed to go.
So you still bring them back to where they're supposed to head.
This is what I've learned through my sessions in AL. I was a homebrewer for a very long time, and I still am. I still enjoy homebrew a lot. But AL has taught me things. AL has taught me to be able to keep time. Like being able to keep time means you are able to finish on time, and you are able to do it in such an organized manner, yet still allow them the illusion of freedom.
Right.
Because that's what Dungeon Masters are. You are basically playing God by giving them the idea of free will.
But still, in the end, it still goes back to the path that you're set for them.
It's true. I mean, yeah, I think in a lot of ways, I'm a very pushover kind of DM. Like I do allow a lot of like my own players to kind of say like, hey, can I check if I know this and know that and know this and know that? And without any context, I will just say, okay, sure, roll for intelligence, and they roll like an 18. Like, yeah, I guess you would probably know the history of the city, but I try to think about it big picture wise, where will this kill the fun of the game, or will this affect the end game?
When you put it that way, it makes it feel like, yeah, they are in control, but It's still in your world.
Yes. At the end of the day, the DM wins.
Yes, in the end of the day, the DM wins.
Yeah.
Because
it really doesn't matter if the players win or not. At the end of the day, if the DM loses, he wins. If the DM wins,
he still wins.
he still sort of wins. And it's just sometimes if the DM wins and the players lose, the players have every right to feel cheated.
Right. So, in that case, then let me ask you this question then.
Sure.
So, have you ever had any players feel defeated during any of your campaigns after a certain period or in any other sessions? Because
I feel like I have been one of those players.
you have.
Yes.
All right.
One of my first campaigns was a super slow campaign. And it was one of those campaigns where the DM just wouldn't let things go. And the players felt as if he wasn't gonna let us get away with a lot of things. So I don't know if it's because of logic or because of his reasoning. So we weren't having a lot of fun. It's because we were a level 2 character at this point, and there's not a lot you can do at level 2.
Yeah, there's not much action economy with that.
Yeah. So at that point, you try to get away with a few things, or mistakes happen, and logic takes place, and then suddenly you get arrested, and you have to fight trolls. Or and after doing set amount of actions or adventures, and you're still at level 2.
Oh, and you haven't leveled up.
Yeah, because you're gonna follow the boring XP system, which takes forever to level up. By the way, especially if you're gonna meet up like once every week.
Right.
Not once every week.
Once
every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks or once a month.
And then you might forget what you're supposed to be. That's true.
So it became boring for us. But I learned a lot of good lessons there. Because I had that kind of DM and I had that kind of adventure in the first place, it kind of taught me of what I wanted in my own adventures.
Oh, so you wanted how you would show it in your own adventure, how you would want it to go.
Yeah. Which is why whenever I play a DM for a D&D game, I always treat it like a job interview. I always treat it like I'm the one being interviewed, and I'm trying to impress the players in front of me by making sure I know my stuff, or making sure that they get some fun out of it, because the first time you play with them is the first impression thing. So you want to try and make sure that they're having fun.
Yeah.
It's probably not the best advice I can give people, but it's how I did it, and it's how I do it still.
Yeah, but ideally that's what you want with people who want to play D&D for the first time, right? You want to give them the opportunity to play it and enjoy it, right?
Yeah. And I guess that's what one-shots are.
Yeah.
And I guess, in a way, let them go crazy. Right?
Yeah. Because it's only one time.
Yeah. If there's an opportunity for you to be funny, to narrate something funny, or for them to do something that's really wow, or like I didn't expect that.
Really amazing and all that. Yeah.
I guess you should do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, then that's for one-shots. But what if we go back to, what if you want to make a campaign, even though it's a bit long, you have character players who are like level 3, and then suddenly a few months later, they're already like 16. Do you still make it fun for them, or do you make it dull?
I think when you're at level 16, you're kind of like in the end game. Now, you can still make it as lighthearted as you want, or they can do it for themselves. But you're there to kind of close out the story. So you're there to kind of like, I sort of treat the tiers as if movie arcs. There's the opening chapter, there's the fun bits, and then there's a bit of the adventure, and then there's the revelation of everyone's characters, and then you go to the gloomy, dark parts, and then you go to the end game. So at level 16, while it's good to have fun, I think the DM's job is still to tell the story, because at level 16, you really got to dial in your story.
They're about to have the end game.
Yeah. You really have to funnel in all of the story plots and the plot holes that you've made for yourself.
Right.
Like, trust me, when I was running a campaign at level 10, I opened up so many avenues that I didn't even know where they were going. Yeah. So by the time they were at level 14 or 15, I had to like close it all together.
Finish up everything.
Without making it too complicated. And I will I will pen this as the Nomura effect.
The Nomura effect?
Do you know who Tetsuya Nomura is?
No.
Okay, Tetsuya Nomura is the creator of Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
He's also the character designer for Final Fantasy VII, most of the Final Fantasy series. He is infamously known for creating such intricate storylines that it's gone to the point of crazy, and nobody gets his vision. Just imagine Kojima on like a times by 3 scale.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll just take Kingdom Hearts as an
example. Yeah.
So Kingdom Hearts 1 was great. It was basically a Disney and Square Enix kind of like mashup.
Yeah, the merging of
together,
yeah.
and then suddenly they decided to create a 1.5, which is called Chain of Memories, and then they started creating, like, fleshing out the backstory. Oh, who is this mysterious organization who is trying to like steal Kingdom Hearts?
Basically filler.
And then Kingdom Hearts 2 came. Now, so since you don't really know about Kingdom Hearts, there was a huge gap between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. There was a 10-year gap. Okay, 2 and 3. But there were like all these other mini games. I think there were like 100.
Okay.
And including a mobile mini game, which is still ongoing.
Yeah.
And every single game that happened between 2 and 3, I didn't follow. But the moment I got to Kingdom Hearts 3, there was just this whole lore that I didn't know about. And then suddenly there were like 5 clones of the main character.
Somehow.
And there were like 13 clones of the bad guy. Like, what is happening here? And like, they kept saying, oh, all will be explained in the future. So you don't want to Nomura your campaigns, basically.
You want it to end it.
You want to dial it in.
You want to dial it in so no one would be, where did this come from? Yeah.
Like, I'm running a campaign right now with my wife, her cousin, and one of her friends. So it's a very small group, like 3 players. And I tried to run it originally as like anime style.
Okay,
like
so
very, like,
a bit extra, over the top.
No, kind of like shonen style.
Ah, okay.
Like, oh, there's this character who has like special powers, and then suddenly these 2 characters are coming in, and then like there's an evil revealed, and then we play it by season. Where we just finished season 2 before my wife gave birth.
Okay.
And we're gonna do a 3rd season like somewhere
after. Yeah. Okay.
So with this, I have a beginning and I have an ending.
You already have it planned.
Yeah.
All right.
This ending is going to change because they're going to do something that's going to be weird. But eventually, I'm going to try and make sure that the end bad guy is still going to be there at the end of the day.
No matter what they do.
Right. Because that's a very anime thing to do.
There's always going to be an ending. Yeah.
Speaking of which, like, I don't mean to like talk about my campaign a lot, but there's this one thing in this current campaign that I'm doing, which Anas, like, shout out to Anas, who's hit with the coronavirus, by the way. So,
I hope you're doing all right.
I hope you're doing all right. He called it the Kung Flu. The Kung Flu. True story. I'll show you the WhatsApp message. Anyway,
okay.
He shared with me the what's it called? The Hydra.
The Hydra.
The Forgotten Hydra? No.
Is this we were talking about where you cut the head and it'll multiply to 2?
No, God, I don't remember the full term for it. The False Hydra. There you go. Thank you, guy off camera. It's basically, it happens if you don't flesh out your background. If a player doesn't flesh out backgrounds, you punish your players by doing this.
Okay. Could you elaborate more?
All right. So let's say there's a party of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they go into town. And after defeating a certain monster, they decided to just, take a rest and everything. Until one morning, one of the players, they wake up and they received a letter. And the letter was from one of their parents.
Oh, okay, so I'm assuming these guys, your players haven't made any background stories for them. So you put the story
in there, and the player says, wait, I don't have these parents. But you do.
Because it's technically, you're giving them...
Yeah.
You're giving them what they don't have. Okay.
I think I'm telling the story wrong, but anyway, I'm just gonna roll with it. Something like, and then you go on ahead and you start like, the more you continue forward, the more he puts in things, which are supposed to be there, but are not.
Which are not made from the players themselves.
Yeah, it got to the point where they started questioning if the other players are real.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a whole like YouTube video that was it's really amazing. Like, it's really cool. But I made a variation of it.
Oh.
And in my campaign, one of the characters, one of the things that she can do is predict a future that can be.
A future that can be.
Yeah. Not a future that is, but can be.
So it's a possibility.
So every time the future changes, she gets a dream about it.
Okay, so is it like that? That's a Raven effect, or?
I never actually saw that series, but yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so basically that's what happens, and I made a variation of it where things, as a result, are disappearing
Oh.
because she's abusing her power so much that it is folding reality.
Oh, because she sees a future, but if she alters something that not to not follow that future,
Yeah.
it'll basically alter. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's changing what's supposed to be.
So it's a really cool mechanic. There were other mechanics I wanted to put in there, but yeah, basically that's my entire campaign.
Oh.
It's the ability that she can fold time and reality and something like that.
But of course, there's consequences. Yeah.
I mean, the more I think about it, the more she's starting to sound like Ciri from The Witcher, but
What did you think about it? Yeah. But then again, you wanted to make this campaign like anime-ish.
yeah.
So that
Okay.
seems to fit it, right?
Yeah. So before we continue our next one, we want to put a shout out to Wild Magic Store. If you guys are anywhere within the Jerusalem area, go ahead to Wild Magic Store. We've got dice, we've got player handbooks, we've even got this thing called Pathfinder. If you want to take a look at that, I'm supposed to tell it because I lost a bet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is all I will mention.
That's all we got. That's all we got.
But if you guys are looking for player handbooks, monster manuals, dungeon master guides, anything to do with D&D, you can find it here at Wild Magic Store. And of course, we have our content here on YouTube. We stream on Twitch every Wednesday one shots, and of course, Talking Dragons.
Yeah.
We'll have this up for you on Twitch every Thursdays.
Right.
Right. We have another reason why you're here.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we were talking about content for YouTube.
Yes.
And one of the things that we were trying to do, because we have a partner here at Wild Magic Store, which is Mystic Minis. You can also find Warhammer stuff here at
Wild Magic.
Wild Magic.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a Warhammer video project.
Yes.
Right. I came up with the idea to Damien to see if he was interested in doing any type, sort of like Warhammer stuff.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to do just another game match. What is it called?
A normal battle report
thing.
Yeah.
So he said, I wanted to do more narrative storytelling.
Right.
So basically, he just came up to me and he said he wants to do D&D for Warhammer.
This is for the 40K or for fantasy?
For the 40K.
Yeah.
So this is a sci-fi basically take on Kill Team.
Yes.
And if I'm understanding it correctly, because feel free to correct me after this.
Yes.
You're gonna be a star in this video project.
Yes.
And you are bringing your team of Space Wolves.
Yes.
6 people.
Six. Okay. 6 to maybe a roster of probably 10.
10 players.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be going through like battles that are being put before you by Damien.
Yes.
Featuring other guest players.
Yes.
And there's gonna be a whole story.
Yes.
Like, so people are gonna die.
Yes. Eventually, if the way we're planning to do it is if my characters manage to get down and wounded, and if they get killed outright, it's a permanent death. So they will not be shown in the next mission or so, or if I even pass the mission. So even if I fail the mission, it'll be a different path, and I'll be having less players to put on, and it'll be difficult for me. So if I completely fail this, another star will take over.
Or we just cancel the project altogether.
Yeah.
So you're doing the Space Wolves thing.
Yes.
Space Wolves is a section of the Ultramarine Space Marines kind of thing?
No. Space Wolves are another chapter from their own legion. So there's those who don't know about Warhammer 40K. These Space Wolves or Space Marines have different types of chapters. So you got the typical, like the poster boys like Ultramarines that you probably would know.
Sure.
And the blue,
yellow,
the
Space Marine guys.
The typical poster boys. Yeah. And you got, for example, my guys who are Space Wolves, who are like these Norse, Viking-looking Space Marines who live in the snow and have wolves as riders, wolves as their mounts.
Right.
Yeah.
So is this whole thing going to be scripted?
Most probably, if
Probably.
if there's a chance, yeah.
So we were thinking about doing like skirmishes, and the basically the stories told are as a result of the battle that you're playing.
Yes.
basically.
So what happens in the battle will be the result of what will happen in the story.
Right. So someone gets killed, like suddenly there's a cutscene.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a cutscene of that character dying.
Sven the Viking dies
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
Amazing. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So it's all going to be shot here, Wild Magic.
yeah. Most
So
probably, yeah.
30-minute format, I'm guessing.
Maybe, yeah, if we get the time.
So what about that? That's really interesting. I think the storytelling aspect is potentially really cool.
Yes.
Are you up for it? Like, because what happens if all 10 of your kill team players die?
Well, if all 10 of my kill team players die, of course, whoever is left will. Whoever knows about what happened to them will probably have to take over.
Or worse, all of them die except for one.
Then,
So you still have to carry out the mission?
So basically, if there was one guy left, and if he got picked up or is the last lone survivor, depending on the situation. So if we take a scenario where if he got picked up by his chapter,
Yeah.
it's either he's gonna be disgraced or they ask him what actually happens.
Yeah.
So it could be another season, or it could be another path for another chapter or another player to take over.
All right.
So
Okay. So you're basically saying that there's hope.
there's hope
Yeah.
if I don't completely fail in most of my missions. As long as most of my guys are alive, then they should be fine.
Is there anything about the story you can tell us right now?
All I can know right now is we're gonna be doing this like a scout mission.
All right.
And my space wolves, they're called the Tempest Fang,
Okay.
and they're basically the
Is it still Tempest Fang?
yeah, because I agreed with Damien about the whole Tempest Fang, because the leader's called Tempest and it's his wolf pack.
Okay.
So
Alright,
it's yeah.
alright.
So his wolf pack is being sent to scout out this planet because they haven't had any communications with them, and for some strange reason, when they went down to check it out, the guardsmen or the people who were supposed to guard the planet became traitors, and it became an ambush.
Okay.
That's all I know for now.
This is really cool. Like, is there like a has this ever been done before? By the way.
So far as I know, narratively,
Yeah.
no, not so far. But the game has been played before, yes.
Of course.
But
right.
narratively, where with videos and all that, no. This is actually going to be the first time.
And this is a 5-episode run, as I remember.
Yeah.
So that's a whole season.
That's a whole season.
Like, okay.
So.
So we were talking to Damien about this before, about like potentially not just doing Space Wolves. Like the second season, maybe
It could be.
you could take a break from the Space Wolves.
Yeah.
Thing, check up on them maybe on the third season or something.
Yeah.
And like maybe do a second season of
Yeah.
I don't know, Tau.
Yeah. Second season of Tau. Maybe
Yeah.
if you want to make it fun, you can even bring in like orcs, or
Sure.
or even if
Like
you wanna
make the
go
bad guys look
make
like the
the-
good guys kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
like make the orcs like be pirates and steal stuff.
Is there gonna be like an Avengers thing? Could there ever be an Avengers thing where you're taking like one of the Tau, one of the Space Marines, and one of the. And then just
You
putting
mean
them
make
in a-
them work together?
Yeah, make them in a single unit.
And
it's
like they're forced to work together.
yeah,
They could be.
I think that sounds interesting.
That sounds like a fun, interesting thing. So, like, if you could make a narrative like where they have no choice but to work together to get out of a planet or save their lives, maybe.
So I don't know that much about
Warhammer 40k.
like I collect and I
Yeah.
paint.
Yes.
I haven't played 40k.
You should.
Maybe one of these days.
Well, yeah, one of these
Once I'm
days.
done with the D&D thing.
Yeah.
But tell me, is Warhammer more? Are they more like anal about the stuff about rule sets and being? Are they like flexible like D&D or? Are they-
Okay. So there are two types of ways you could play the whole Warhammer thing. One way is through open play, where you play as how you want it to be.
Sure.
Like, open, like, so there's no restriction by the rules. Like, you play as there is some rules as guidelines, but they don't play as strict as tournament ways. So the second way is tournament edition, where everyone is rules as written, and every model has to have what they have.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't have like, okay, this model has a rifle, but suddenly you have in his loadout a rocket launcher. It doesn't have a rocket launcher.
Yeah. So once you've glued that on,
Or magnetized, depending on how you would make them. Yeah. But that's depending on the people who make their own armies. So
sure.
usually people who have the time would magnetize and have the freedom to
So
customize.
they are pretty strict with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But that's only if you're playing in tournament rules.
Okay. All right.
But if you want to play it in open rules, go ahead.
Yeah.
You can even have like a Tau with 5 guns. And
That's possible.
yeah,
In D&D.
in D&D. Actually, there's actually a D&D version of Warhammer 40K.
Okay.
There's actually a campaign, I think. I'm not too sure. But no one has time to read into the story, so...
I know that there's a Warhammer RPG, but I'm not too familiar with the battle system. I think it kind of follows the Warhammer battle system faithfully.
Yeah, but there's also... if I'm not wrong, there should be a D&D version of the Warhammer world
Oh,
itself.
definitely. Someone's probably homebrewed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Back when I first started meeting Damien, we wanted to do like a cross learning kind of thing.
yeah.
Like I would learn a bit of Kill Team,
You would
he
learn
would learn a bit of D&D.
D&D.
So I ran a game for him once, and he was so into it that he wanted to do a 40K version. My first thought was, okay, how am I gonna get all of those stats into D&D in one go? And like, I initially thought maybe I'm just gonna wing it,
Yeah.
but then there's a problem with setting. Like, how am I gonna know like if I do the setting correctly, and they're not gonna like bash me for the lore and stuff like that?
Basically, if you're afraid if you make the lore a bit wrong,
Yeah.
you're afraid they're gonna like bark.
Yeah. So I thought this was clever. I wanted to do a Blackstone Fortress.
Then that's a more easier way to do it, because Blackstone Fortress, it's a lot of...
It's basically a different biome, right?
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a different biome anywhere, and every time you go into a particular fortress,
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah, exactly. So that was like my strategy, but I put it off so many times that he stopped asking. So I'm pretty glad. Yeah, I'm pretty busy nowadays. I don't really DM that much. Oh, you want to play Aeronautical Imperia?
Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe when my son graduates or something.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's great. I think the differences between Dungeons and Dragons Warhammer, I think, are very massive.
Yeah,
But the appeal is probably the same, right?
yes, the appeal is more or less the same, because they're technically could be both on tabletop or virtually.
So I think this sets a really good like precedent for people who want to maybe dabble into Warhammer from playing Dungeons and Dragons. If they watch your Space Wolves episode.
Yeah,
Or-
maybe they might get intrigued, or if people who are playing like Warhammer, if they watch a couple of episodes of D&D, maybe they want to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Dungeons and Dragons, you have imaginations. Well, in 40K, it's mostly grimdark future and all the lore.
But everything's pretty much dark in Warhammer now.
Yeah, except for the Tau.
Sure. Yeah, because
They're the good guys.
we're really good guys.
They're the good
I'm
guys.
a fan of Tau, by the way. If
Yes.
anyone's listening. Not that you care.
Yeah.
Anyone.
Anyway.
Anyone at all. If you guys are listening.
But yeah, technically Taus are the good guys.
Sure. But let's get back on that, because I knew of Warhammer Fantasy when I was 13 years old. So that is 10 years ago.
Oh damn! So 2000 and
Sorry, 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
I'm not 22. I'm not 23.
Okay.
I am 33.
So 20 years ago, that would be roughly 19...
2000.
Yeah.
And if you guys are Bruneians, you would know a local toy store back in 2000 called Just Toys.
Yes, the one in Gadong. Yeah.
The castle that you see in Gadong was an actual toy store.
Yeah.
It was a really good time to be a kid when you were, in 2000.
In 2000s, because there was actually a castle for toys.
And in that same castle was a tuition school called Edu City.
Really? There was a tuition school there?
Yes.
I didn't know.
So my parents enrolled me, and I'm glad they're not here to listen to this. I mean, they're still alive, but they're not going to listen to this.
Yeah, hopefully.
They enrolled me in Edu City, but I never went.
What? You went there for the toys.
And they gave me like tuition money every month. Too.
Oh God.
So and then I got my first Warhammer set.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what'd you get?
It was a set of high elves with all the tuition money I got.
Damn.
And
Pointy ears.
yeah, parents came home and they saw like, oh, what's this? Like, oh, it's just some toys. I thought. Where'd you get the money? Oh, I saved. All the tuition money you gave us. And I painted it and everything, and then I lost it when I failed my O levels.
How?
Because they found out I failed my O levels, so they threw out the Warhammer set.
Oh.
I think they found out.
That
I found out that I was not
going to
Edu City.
Damn.
Because I could not describe to you what was beyond the front door.
So they went there.
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, so I gave up on Warhammer for a while. I still have like a high elf that I kept as a memento.
One memorial.
Yeah.
Are you planning to go get high elves this time? There.
I was always a fan of the Bretonians, the humans. I wanted to get them when they were around, but I found the high elves more interesting because 2000 it was time of Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. So
yeah, Lord of the Rings.
I was into the whole Lord of the Rings thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then I find out all of those factions, Bretonians, high elves,
Empire.
they all
gone.
disappeared
because
of some huge calamity,
Yes.
which brought about the Age of Sigmar,
Yes.
and now everything is dark.
Yes. For some strange reason, everything is dark.
What the fuck?
Right. Britannia is now technically skeleton land.
Okay.
That's the whole. Basically, they turn zombified.
That's a really weird move for Warhammer.
Yeah.
Like they just immediately destroyed the entire fantasy line
And brought in a
and brought in
new.
the Age of Sigmar, and nobody can collect these like fantasy units anymore.
Right. They were technically unique back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Yet 40K is still here.
40K. It's their futuristic.
Yeah.
It's always evolving, but with fantasy, to evolve it is to destroy and remake. Apparently.
That's a weird marketing strategy. Games Workshop, if you want to talk to us, feel free to come over again.
And we can discuss the potential stories.
Yes, we have a campaign setting that we would have that you would probably like. It involves the island of Borneo and that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are here with Yura. If you guys are forgetting who you are, and
Yeah.
I am Yazin.
Yes.
We both have the same
Why?
Ys, and I just found out that we are sort of related,
Somehow.
as Bruneians get.
Yes. It's a small country.
We want to talk about a little bit more about like how you're getting along in WoW Magic, because like before this, I hardly ever saw you around, and now you're like hanging out every day because you're playing Warhammer.
It's more of I hang out every day before I got into Warhammer.
Yeah.
Because I got interested in the community and I wanted to help out, improve it.
Improve it.
Yeah.
So you're thinking like what we've been doing is a really crap job.
No.
So you just want to improve it on it.
No.
I mean,
it's more like inputting my support to helping you guys.
Okay. So you think you can do better?
No, not really. I'm like trying to help you guys out,
Right.
and not really like I'm giving you a helping hand.
Okay.
So like if you guys need a helping hand, like if you need any help with carrying stuff or doing a DM or need a DM or need players, I'm there to help
Well,
out.
since Anas is out with the coronavirus, sorry, the Kung Flu.
The Kung Flu. Yeah.
Maybe you want to take over Avernus for him. next week.
Ooh, Avernus.
See, it's intimidating, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because you're
hell.
coming from a DM that knows the lore,
Yeah,
and you've got players like Ada and Dane who know a little bit of the lore,
yeah.
and then you're expected to know the lore like Anas does.
Yes, that's the thing that's kind of that puts me off from going to try and DM Avernus, because my type of playstyle for DMing is not hell. I don't focus my attention with devils, hells, and demons.
Me too. Yeah.
I prefer something like Eberron, where it's a bit more evolved and futuristic. But I also delve my type of DMing with fantasy, because we always go back to fantasy.
Yeah.
That's
I guess
the
so.
that's the fun part.
Well, I think Avernus is interesting, but not interesting enough for me to get into it.
Right.
I am very interested in the next module that is coming out,
Which
is Wildmount.
you want to run that one?
No, but I would like to play in it. I think I've sort of like decreased as a fan of Critical Role because I don't have time to kind of like
watch their whole
But
season.
I'm still a massive fan of Critical Role, and I've always loved the first source book that they put out, the Tales from Exandria. No, wait, not Tales from Exandria. It was Tal'Dorei campaign setting.
Okay.
So I love that book, and the whole thing with vestiges and stuff like that. It's going to be in this next book as well, by the way.
Yeah, and their upcoming book.
But there's so much stuff in there. Those things with the Dunamancy, they're basically subclasses and everything.
More variety.
It's basically Sword Coast Adventure, but like 100 or 200 pages.
Damn.
So,
But
there's so many characters.
so you would want to play in that setting.
I would try. I've tried it before. Didn't go so well.
Oh.
But yeah, that was my first campaign. The
Ah.
first campaign was actually in Tal'Dorei.
But
New Tal'Dorei.
Okay.
But I'm very interested in everything Matt Mercer does.
I see. So
I'm interested to see what happens because the Blood Hunter class was like one of my favorite classes to play
Oh, okay.
when it first came out. And I think there's a new update on it, something like that.
I'm not too sure because I haven't actually played the Blood Hunter class.
Okay.
So, but I played his Gunslinger class because the whole idea with guns is very unique.
I think it's more realistic.
Yeah.
Well, not realistic. I think it's fairer
Yeah.
for people to play the Gunslinger class from Matt Mercer's version because the reloading capability.
Yes.
I really like that.
Because it gives you the option to, it tells you to do that reload property. Because if you don't reload, how you shoot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
And of course, some weapons, if they're like using gunpowder, there's always gonna be a misfire.
Yeah. Like I find it weird that D&D, the official D&D guy, treats both archery and gunslinging differently.
How so?
The reloading capabilities.
Right, because archers, they don't need to reload.
Yes, they do.
But when you describe it, they just pull another out from the quiver, and they just pull.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about crossbows and guns, yes, they have the reload property.
What's the difference?
You still
It's
have
still
to cock
reloading.
it. Yeah.
Like, so why would they treat it so differently?
Maybe to give the immersion that you gotta reload, because you don't reload like
Yeah.
really fast.
I mean, our opinions don't matter.
Yeah, our opinions don't matter, but they're trying to make it seem more realistic for the DM to describe, I guess, because you can't just say, okay, he reloaded and shot. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I also have another subject. A treasure trove of information. If you guys don't know, we're not a sponsor, by the way, but D&D Beyond. Do you hang around their website a lot?
Yeah, occasionally,
Right?
because I still go to their website for references.
Yeah. I like to look at their encounters of the week.
Really?
Yeah, their encounters of the week, their articles are pretty good. Like, for example, something that came out this morning was an article on weak points
Weak points of.
of monsters, NPCs.
Okay.
I think that's an interesting thing that you can take a look at, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you have a certain player, why isn't a headshot more lethal? And why
Right.
can't I do a headshot as opposed to
Like feeling it more of a critical or
Right.
damaging more.
yes, right?
I could see that. Like if you focus the leg of a monster, or you focus like a bright indicator of where the heart would be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you were fighting a silver dragon, and why would you? But yes, if you were fighting a silver dragon,
For some strange reason, or got forced into a situation like that. Yeah.
and for example, you were trying to find a weak spot, right?
Yeah. Usually you would try to say maybe it's the eyes, maybe
Yeah.
it's the head.
So it's a really interesting mechanic, finding weak points. It was made by someone. I'm really bad with names, but they wrote something to the point of like, you are allowed to give them, say, a weak point, which makes them more vulnerable to attacks.
Right.
For example, you can do an investigation or perception check, maybe, and the DC would be 8 plus their challenge rating.
Right.
So if you were fighting challenge 13 rating monster with a plus 8, it's 21. So it'll still be very difficult to find.
But if they manage to get that 21, they would know where's a weak spot.
Yeah, and the rules set specifically state something to the point of like, oh, if you're the one who did investigate it and you found it, only you know specifically where the weak spots are.
Okay, so that brings the question: what if they have this mentality? Like, what if I told them where the weak spot is?
You can, but you don't know where it is.
So only the person who found that.
Because the area is so small.
It's very vague.
And very specific that only the person
Who checked?
would know.
Ah, right.
And if he were to know, like if you were to tell that person, he would have to make the same check.
And if he fails, he won't notice it.
He won't see it.
But he will see the general direction.
Yeah. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like just like little flavors like that to add to the game and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes it interesting.
Mhm.
Like, you give them an opportunity to cripple somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like so many times where I've had level 1 games with like new players, they always want to say like, oh, can I shoot him in the head? Sure.
It's gonna be high DC.
What do I do, right? Like,
Yeah.
just raise the DC.
Yeah, just raise it easy because you're trying to specifically aim the head.
Or
Okay.
I want to slit his throat. So what happens if you slit his throat? You pass the AC, you do the damage, but it doesn't kill him.
It doesn't feel.
He's just like splitting and like, oh my god, I'm still alive.
I'm bleeding, but
Yeah.
it's not killing him.
Yeah. So like, that's the one part of D&D that needs to be more flexible. And I'm not gonna reference that stupid, like other alternate D&D game.
We don't have that, right?
Yeah. So, Kung Flu Guy, if you're listening,
Yeah.
we should really have Kung Flu Guy on the show one of these days.
One of these days.
You know, I think we should host it together because I really like the back and forth with him. I really like bantering with him.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me want to punch him.
But it's still there.
Yeah. You know, some people I banter with, I just want to punch them in the face. That's me though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today's show.
Right.
I mean, anything else you want to say? Anything else came to mind?
Right, I don't know. I think I already asked you the questions that you have
Yeah.
provided me the answers with.
I mean, I guess that is how a podcast works. I ask you a question and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because remember, we're almost at the hour mark.
Yeah.
And this is where I go crazy.
Yep, this is where after hours happens.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna ask you one more question. What's next for you? What's next for your DM journey?
My DM journey, if I were given the opportunity, I might be interested in, like I said, running Eberron.
Eberron.
F or AL, I guess. But if I could run Eberron without the AL penalty, then
Yeah.
I can make it my own world.
Of course.
Hmm.
You know, and I think it's great. You could either run an Adventures League game, or maybe just something in the Eberron setting.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to have you around here. I mean, you've been doing a great job, and we don't pay you at anything at all.
Yeah, I
That's
don't really
fine.
mind. Yeah.
So it's really great to have actual slaves.
You can call us that. I would say helpful volunteers.
Yes, that's what we call slaves.
Okay.
All right.
All
Hey
right.
guys, thanks very much for coming in to listen to us here at Wild Magic Store. Of course, we're open every Wednesday to Sundays. Sundays from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and every other day would be from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Right.
We also have Warhammer Nights here on Saturday night. I think that's pretty interesting. You can catch Yura here
Yeah.
almost every other day. If he's not playing Warhammer, he's going to be painting. If not,
Or-
he's going to be DMing.
Or even playing as a character.
Very, very much, yeah. I think you're going to be playing tomorrow with Farah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Farah has a D&D campaign coming up here soon as well. Yeah, you can catch us here at YouTube. Find us on Twitch. We are also on Podbean if you're looking for this podcast.
In Podbean.
Podbean, yes, that's where all our audio podcasts are.
All right.
And for you, the person who is listening, thank you very much for listening to us, and good night.